Today is World Asthma Day, and we thought it was an important day to bring you some very practical and effective ways in which you can combat asthma. That's going beyond the inhalers and the regular medication. Asthma is a disorder that affects everybody. There are adults with it, there are children with it. But if you're a parent of a child who has asthma, then you know how heartbreaking it is. Any normal event, it could be a birthday party or just a visit to the park, and your kid is wheezing and is beginning to cough, and you soon have a full-blown attack. And as a parent, you're rushing for the inhaler from your bag, you're trying to get your child to puff it right, and by the time the attack subsides, both of you are worn out, and you're wondering, is this how it's going to be for the rest of the child's life? And if we go by the current allopathic model, which is basically to medicate during an acute attack, then the inhaler and the asthma are going to be part of your child's life for pretty much life. Now, fortunately, that isn't the way every form of medicine looks at asthma. And today, we want to bring you two such revolutionary methods that can help you combat asthma in both children and in adults, but especially so in children. And these are methods that are beginning to rally scientific evidence for themselves. And so we thought the time was right to expose you to these little known methods of handling asthma. And what's wonderful about these is neither of them is asking you to give up the conventional method that you're used to. So you can very much have the inhaler there as an SOS, but you use these techniques to begin to reduce your reliance on them. So your doctor is not going to have any cause for concern either. We're not going to let the child go through an asthma attack without having a fallback. So the first method that I'd like to discuss today and draw to your attention is called the Buteyko method. It was discovered and codified by Dr. Konstantin Buteyko. This was in the year 1952. So as you can expect, that's more than 65, 70 years of evidence that's been slowly gathered. So in the article that's associated with this video, which is called Two Little Known Techniques to Combat Asthma, which is going to be linked to this video, you will get all the details of how the Buteyko method works, what is the research study behind it. So here's how Dr. Konstantin Buteyko found the human body reacts during an asthmatic attack. So when you get an asthmatic attack, you begin to breathe shallow, and that means that you end up taking very rapid, that sort of a breath, and that's called hyperventilation. And hyperventilation leads to loss of carbon dioxide. Now, paradoxically, carbon dioxide is a very important part of helping us breathe right. That's because carbon dioxide has the ability to open up the airways. It's called a vasodilator. It widens the airways and allows for oxygen to go in. And when you lose carbon dioxide, that simply doesn't happen. So the Buteyko method involves two things, two critical things. The first component is that you take your breaths through your nose. So a shallow breath through the nose, and yet the human nose, such an amazing marvel of engineering, that it has little turbinates that push in the oxygen deep into the lungs. So even though it seems like when you open your mouth wide and you take in air, you're getting in a greater volume of air, that air doesn't really reach the bottom of your lungs. Anything that you take in through your nose, that little breath can count for so much more because it's being moistened, it's becoming warm, and it gets pushed deep into the lungs. So you take in a shallow breath through your nose, and then you literally hold your nose. And by holding your nose, you build up the carbon dioxide inside your system. And as we just learned, the more the carbon dioxide inside the system, the wider your airways, and the oxygen that you've taken through the little nasal breath is going to make it deep all the way to the bottom of your lungs. And that's the way in which you can actually prevent an attack. Before an attack really builds up into a vicious cycle, you can prevent the attack. And again, in the links which are attached to this video, we've got a link to a YouTube video that shows children actually learning the Buteyko method from an expert. So you can just take a look at it. It's 6 or 7 minutes long, and you can tell that the children are already beginning to grasp this method. And imagine what a powerful tool this is. If your child learns this method, in a few weeks, the child will be able to prevent an attack when it happens by himself or herself. So do look up the article that's linked to this video. We've also got a link to the original Buteyko site. So that has a list of registered worldwide practitioners. So you can have access to these resources and check out Buteyko as a method that could complement the use of inhalers, and eventually your child may not need the inhalers ever again. That's the research evidence behind Buteyko. The second method that we'd like to draw your attention to is called NAET. That's a short form for Nambudripad Allergy Elimination Technique. And this was discovered and codified by Dr. Devi Nambudripad. And the way NAET works is that it believes that all allergic reactions, including an asthmatic attack, are basically overstimulation or an overreaction from the human body to something that it is allergic to. This could be food like wheat or milk. Lots of children have these allergies today. Or it could be an airborne allergy like dust or pollen which your child gets exposed to. Now, whenever we have this sort of an allergic reaction, the body goes into a fight or flight mode, and that leads to the hyperventilation and to the asthmatic attack. The way that they treat this in NAET is you get a little test tube which you hold in your hand that has the particular allergic substance, and they have a way of diagnosing whether you're actually allergic to this particular substance. If you are, then the therapist begins to tap on certain parts of your spine. It's a light, gentle tap, only exterior, and it's not hard at all. And at the end of this process, you're re-engineering, rewiring your body's over-allergic reaction to the particular allergen. And that's how that works. Now, there is some evidence for NAET. Buteyko has been around for a lot longer, so the scientific evidence there is a lot more solid. With NAET, they do have results from a 10-year study that was conducted at their own clinic. But since at Sepalika we believe that research needs to be a lot more thorough, we're sort of waiting for the peer-reviewed research to come out on this. That said, the anecdotal evidence on this, the kind of dramatic results that especially children seem to have when their asthma is allergic in nature, is fantastic. And so we thought, all you parents out there, we must make you aware of this. And so these are the two techniques that we wanted to cover in today's video. We're going to have a lot more coming up on Sepalika to do with asthma, really practical tips. What should you do about your diet? Can your child actually take up sports? Can he or she become a world-class athlete? Now, all of this will be coming up. So we're going to put a link in there in the article, which is about the two amazing techniques that can help you combat asthma. Go there at the bottom of the article. Right there is a little box where you can leave your email address. And as soon as we publish new tips, new ways of combating asthma, you'll be one of the first to receive it. Other than that, we're happy to take questions on asthma. If there's anything that you'd like to ask at all, please leave a question right here at the bottom of this video, and we'll come back to you with our answers. We'll get our experts to take a look at it and give you our answers. Let me just check if there are any questions. So nothing yet on the live. So go ahead and leave your questions there at the bottom of the video, and we'll come back to you. Hang on. So we've got the first few questions coming in. So first question. Okay. Are there any food items that asthmatic kids should completely avoid? So we're going to take the question. So if you're somebody who just tuned in for the existing tips and the links to the article, this is probably when you should tune out. But all the questions are going to be from actual parents, so you probably benefit from tuning in. All right. Are there any food items that asthmatic kids should completely avoid? Yes. For the most part, it's been found that anything that produces excess phlegm in the body, and in holistic medicine, a lot of those things have to do with sweets. So anything that's excessively sweet, so pastries, bananas, sugar items in general, as also milk, especially milk that is of the A1 variety, the kind that you get in the West, not so much in the East. In India, a lot of the milk is still A2, but any milk that comes from a Jersey cow, A1 milk, has proteins that are very difficult to digest, and that ends up in children getting phlegm. And once there's excess phlegm in the chest, the body is trying to cough to expel the phlegm, and that could trigger the whole asthmatic attack and that whole cycle. So foods that asthmatic children should absolutely avoid probably fall in that category. Though in the article that we're going to be posting soon, you'll have details of how to make sure that your child is not deprived entirely of these foods. There's ways in which there are hacks, there are alternatives that you can use to make sure that your child doesn't feel left out despite having to avoid such foods. Is there another question? Yes. Should I worry about the air in the home? Is air conditioning doing more harm than good? You're absolutely right. Several times, air conditioners that aren't cleaned regularly can be real hotbeds for bacteria and dust and all sorts of allergens to collect. And that could be one of the reasons why your child is getting repeated attacks. And you're trying to protect the child in every way possible. So if you do use air conditioners at home, if you live in tropical climates or even in parts of the US where it's really hot at this time of the year, just make sure that you invest in a good quality air purifier. It might be one of the best investments you ever make for your health and your child's health. Any other questions? Do air purifiers help? There you go. So we've answered that one. Let me just check if there are any more questions. All right, that's what we have on the live. Go ahead and leave your further questions at the bottom of this video, and we'll make sure that we answer every single one of those. And do remember to leave your email address at the end of the article that I mentioned, the 2 amazing ways in which you can combat asthma. Once you leave your email address there, we promise you no spamming. We'll only send you the information that's coming in, that's the latest research, little ways in which you can make sure that while you're combating asthma, your child is able to enjoy a regular, happy life. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Happy breathing.